Here is the tactical nightmare every coach at this World Cup is about to face. Focus on Ronaldo, and Bruno Fernandes attacks the space around him. Drop too deep to protect the box, and Vitinha and Bernardo Silva control the territory in front of you. Narrow your shape to protect central zones, and Bruno releases wide runners before your defensive line can reset. Press high, and João Neves wins the second ball and feeds Vitinha through the press. Sit deep and wait, and Portugal play around you until Bernardo Silva, with 400 appearances under Guardiola and 20 major trophies, finds the pass that unlocks you. There is no clean answer. There is no obvious solution. Portugal used to be a puzzle with one answer. Now they're a puzzle with none. And here is the question nobody's asking. How did this happen, and how did every team at this World Cup miss it? To understand why this is so shocking, you need to understand what Portugal used to be. Because for decades their identity was brutally simple. Produce a world-class forward. Let that forward carry everything. Win or lose based entirely on what he did on the day. Eusebio in 1966, Figo at the turn of the century, and then Ronaldo, the most devastating goalscorer Portugal has ever produced, arriving and single-handedly transforming a nation with modest tournament expectations into a consistent major force. 6 consecutive World Cups, 6 consecutive Euros, 2 Nations League titles, all built around one man, and that created a blueprint for how to defend against Portugal, a blueprint every team followed for 20 years. Stop the supply into Ronaldo, force the wide players inside, make the midfield prove it can hurt you without him, and it worked. More often than it should have, because for all Portugal's talent in every other position, the midfield was always the question mark. Talented players, creative players, but never quite the complete, suffocating, system-driven midfield the truly great tournament teams possessed. Until now. And here's exactly how it happened. While the football world spent the last 2 years watching Ronaldo's goal tallies in Saudi Arabia, something extraordinary was being quietly assembled in Paris. Vitinha and João Neves became the beating heart of PSG's back-to-back Champions League winning team. Not squad players, not rotation options. The engine. The two men Luis Enrique trusted most when the pressure was highest and the margins were thinnest. Vitinha played 17 Champions League matches this season, over 1,500 minutes. 6 goals, 93% passing accuracy. And in the Champions League final itself, when PSG needed someone to take control, to slow the game, to impose their rhythm on the biggest stage in club football, he was named Player of the Match. João Neves gives Portugal the other half. The bite, the aggression, the pressing monster who closes passing lanes before most midfielders have even identified the danger. 14 Champions League appearances, 91% passing accuracy. At an age when most midfielders are still learning what elite football actually demands, these two men already know each other's movements, their pressing triggers, their passing patterns, their defensive rotations. They built their chemistry every single week in Paris, absorbing one of the most sophisticated pressing systems in European football. They don't arrive at this World Cup as strangers learning each other's game. They arrive as a partnership already forged at the highest level. That's not a midfield being constructed, that's a midfield being unleashed. But Vitinha and Neves are only 2/3 of the story. The third piece is the one that should be keeping opposition managers awake at night. Bruno Fernandes just had the greatest creative season any midfielder has produced in Premier League history. 21 assists, breaking the all-time Premier League single-season record, surpassing Thierry Henry and Kevin De Bruyne, two of the greatest playmakers the league has ever seen. 132 chances created, the most in the entire Premier League, an extraordinary 43 more than the next best player. Premier League Player of the Season, FWA Footballer of the Year in the same year. Think about what that number means, 132 chances in a single season, against Premier League defences that know exactly who he is, exactly how he plays, and exactly where he wants the ball. And still, the answer was always Bruno, every week, relentlessly. Against low blocks, high presses, compact midfields, he found the pass. Now imagine what he does against defences that spent their entire World Cup preparation worrying about Ronaldo. And now the part that nobody wants to say out loud. The scary part of Portugal at this World Cup is not Cristiano Ronaldo. Ronaldo is the player every team has prepared for. Ronaldo is the known quantity. The variable every defensive coach has already accounted for. The scary part is a 31-year-old midfielder who just broke every creative record in English football history, arriving at a World Cup as the most in-form playmaker on the planet. The scary part is two Champions League winners who already understand each other better than most international midfield partnerships understand each other after years together. The scary part is Bernardo Silva, 400 appearances under the greatest manager of his generation, 20 major trophies built for exactly the moments when tournament football becomes tightest and one wrong touch ends everything. And here is the detail that makes all of it even more dangerous. These players do not need Ronaldo to function. For 20 years, Portugal's midfield existed to serve the forwards. Now, for the first time, the forwards exist within a system that was already working brilliantly without them. Portugal have spent 20 years being feared for one reason. And quietly, while every scout, every analyst, every defensive coach was watching number 7, they built 5 more reasons. And nobody noticed. Every team at this World Cup has a plan for Portugal. Every defensive coach has studied the Ronaldo tape. Every midfielder has been briefed on where he receives, how to deny him space, how to keep him quiet. What none of them fully prepared for is everything else. Keep an eye on Portugal. This World Cup is only just beginning, and Portugal are just getting started.